it's Holly Rigsby, author of FitYummyMummy and the newest fat loss resource, Kettlebells for Busy Moms, coming out January 30th. And today's video is, so you think you can swing. Making a video tutorial that kind of outlines and highlights 5 of the top mistakes we tend to make when we go to perform our kettlebell swings. How do I know this so well? Because I was one of those trainers who didn't know what the heck I was doing until I got proper training. So, if you happen to work with a fitness professional that tends to make some of these mistakes, understand that maybe they didn't have the proper training as well. Seek out somebody who is trained properly so that you don't learn in proper form and you can get much more out of this exercise and prevent injury. First of all, before you ever pick up a kettlebell, remember you got to master the basic movements, those 2 lower body movements that I talked about, and understand the difference between the 2. The first one being the squat. Remember, you're tilting your hips down, back, and that your butt goes down to the ground. And then the second one is that hip hinging movement. This is the movement that you need to understand and have that body awareness. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to perform the swing. And this is the #1 mistake people are making when they go to do the swing. So, just as a quick reminder, hip hinge means that you're folding at the hips and your butt goes back to the wall, not down to the ground. And you lead with your chest, so your chest is out, shoulders back. Put your hands right here at the crease of your hip bones and feel your body fold over your hands. There's a slight bend in your knee. Now, why is it so important to understand and master the hip hinge? You can also go into the short stop because you can't squat if you're doing this, right? You're forced to go back because the power of the swing comes from everything back here, your posterior chain, and that's what gives you a beautiful posterior when you do it the right way. So understanding what this feels like is going to allow you to grasp what it means to drive and power up that weight of that kettlebell by contracting your glutes and your hamstrings. And we talk about that popping movement. And I overemphasize this so that you understand what this means. At the top of the movement, I'm standing straight up and down. Everything is tight back here because that's what's going to drive the bell up, not your arms. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So I would encourage you to just practice body weight, getting into that hip hinge position. Then pretend like you have the kettlebell, you're hiking it back between your legs, and as the kettlebell comes up, pop your hips up. Just practice that for a few times. Pop, all right? This is going to help save you so much time and frustration and do the swing properly. The second thing I want you to focus on is the starting position to even begin the swing. And this is going to help self-correct if you are going into the squatting motion when doing the swing, because you can't start off in a squat position and do this and get the power and the drive in your kettlebell. You're gonna be standing slightly behind your kettlebell. It's not directly underneath you, and you're going to hike the kettlebell back between your upper inner thighs. So your wrists are going right up there in that crotch area. I know I said crotch, right? So kettlebell is slightly out in front of you. You're gonna hinge at the waist. You're gonna grab the handle of your kettlebell, and I'm gonna hike it back so that the bell is facing the wall, just like my butt. So that way, when I go to pop my hips, it drives the kettlebell straight up. And each time that I hike the kettlebell back, notice where my wrists are. They are going right between my thighs. And notice that I can start and stop the kettlebell safely and easily when you are understanding and mastering that hike position. So each time that you go to get the power of your swing, hiking that back, wrists are between the thighs. They're not down here by your knees. If that's happening, you're going too low, and that's probably why your knees and your back are hurting. So this is a good test too, because if you've been squatting with your swings, I see a lot of people start their swings like this. And then they don't even know that they're doing it wrong because then they end up squatting when they're doing their swing. Also, try and squat and hike the bell back and get power up. Just see what it's like. I can't. So there's another sign of why you have to master that hike position. It's going to really allow you to grasp what that feels like for that hip hinging motion, because that's the drive and the power of your swing. Third thing I want you to think about and take a second look at is what's happening to your spine. Because a good swing means that you maintain a neutral spine. Now I talk about neutral spine when you're doing a plank. Neutral spine means your neck is in line with your spine. Your neck's not down here, you're not up here. This is a neutral spine position. Same thing's going to happen when you do your swing. And I'm not going to hold the bell yet, but as you hike the bell back, notice that my neck is in line with my spine. I'm not looking up here and trying to do the swing, nor am I allowing my back to round as the weight might be pulling me down. And that's another reason why you're paying attention where your wrists are. If your wrists are way down here by your knees or below, then you're rounding your back. That's horrible posture, and of course your back is going to hurt. But if you maintain neutral spine, that's what's also going to help you find the power and drive to pull that bell, or to drive the bell up. A good way to kind of think about it is to find a spot on the ground slightly in front of you and focus on that spot. I like to do a lot of like one leg Romanian deadlift type movements, and I need to find a focal point. So what you could do is kind of test out, well, what does that feel like to find that focal point? And then balance on one leg. Even if you can't do it with one leg, put a chair there. But still, find that spot that allows you to stay balanced. Because then the same thing's going to happen. I'm finding that spot right now. This is what's going to allow me to maintain that neutral spine. So, neutral spine. You're not looking up here. You're not rounding your back. If your knees or back have been hurting, these corrections will help. Fourth tip with your swing is what's happening to your posture at the top of the swing. A lot of people tend to hyperextend, so they end up leaning back. Reason for that could very well be, well, lack of body awareness, lack of proper form, obviously, but because they're trying to use their upper body to pull the weight up. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So they end up hyperextending their back and hurting their back. You are not. Just like I showed you in a plank, that's how you are at the top of your swing. You're not back here. And of course your hips are fully extended because you've contracted your glutes and your hamstrings to drive that kettlebell up. So you should be standing straight up and down still with that neutral spine. You're not way back here. So once again, no hyperextension. Also, I'll add in an extra tip right here. Well, maybe it goes right into my fifth one. But notice where your shoulders are, and it does. It goes in my fifth one. With the swing, your arms are simply a guide. They are not the power behind the bell coming up in front of your chest. That's not what's driving this. So, and I talked about this in a couple other videos, is that if you choose a weight that's too light, it's too easy to cheat and lift the bell with your arms, so you have no idea. So a test for you is, pick up your kettlebell. Okay, arms fully extended, you're holding the horns of your bell. Try to do a front raise. If it is extremely challenging, then the weight is good for you to use. If you can barely lift it, even better. If you can easily lift it up and down, then when you go to do the swing, what's to prevent you from using your arms to lift it, to losing the power and drive from your hips, and hyperextending? So make sure your weight is heavy enough. And when I talk about your arms being a guide, the bell is weightless at the top of the swing. This allows you to let go of the bell, to do hand-to-hand swings, and it's at that moment that you'll notice you've got that neutral spine, your posture straight up and down, and your shoulders are back. The bell's not pulling you forward, you're not on your tiptoes feeling like you're falling forward, because then that's also a sign that you're probably squatting too much. When your hips drive the bell up to chest level, your arms can even be slightly bent, but your shoulders are not out here and you're not going this way, you're not grasping the bell with a death grip. The bell, the arms are the guide of the bell. The power of the drive comes from your hips. So once again, it's going to look like this. Notice how I always start off like this, in that hike position. It's what preps your body for it. You're finding that focal point. Weightless. So Your arms are simply, and even some kettlebell professionals will tell you, that your arms are simply like ropes at the top of that swing. Your arms are not pulling the bell up. Another way to think about it is that the bell is just an extension of your body. It's weightless there for a moment, and if you notice the bottom of the bell, it's pointed straight out. It's not flopping up, it's not pulling down. It's another sign. If it's pulling down, you're probably squatting. Now the best way to master or go over these 5 tips that I've told you so that you can tell people that yes, I do know how to swing, is to videotape yourself. If you do not have one-on-one instruction with a certified kettlebell instructor, videotape yourself, watch your form. The pause button does wonders for you to freeze frame and compare to photos or even other videos of those who do perform the swing with proper form. So there you go. So you think you can swing? Go over these 5 tips and you absolutely will. Be on the lookout January 30th for Kettlebells for Busy Moms. We're pre-launching with a coaching call live with myself and Pamela McElry, the world's leading female kettlebell expert who travels the world delivering kettlebell certifications. We're going to be answering your questions live Monday night, and then after that, the DVDs are available. So be on the lookout.
Yeah.